Welcome to Shooting the Shift, episode 3. I'm Bam. That's Matt.
Yep.
That's Bryn. That's Milton.
Hello.
And this week, we're going to talk about dream cars. Starting with Bryn, who's just said something a little controversial.
Well, all I was saying, right, is that I would have one of absolutely everything. And Bam said, even a Fiat Multipla. And yes, even a Fiat Multipla, because have you seen those hill climb cars where they do something like a Fiat 500 and they do a body chop that's so extreme that the headlights are actually on the tarmac and there's about that much wheel arch left?
Yeah.
One of them, but it's a Fiat Multipla, so you just have the fucking bubble tit at the front and then that much of the bit below it and then some wheels would be amazing.
Then I did see one on Facebook the other day, and it was a mini DTM car, but with a GSXR 1000 engine on it, and it's just the shell and the roll cage plonked on top.
That's fair.
But if you're having the Fiat Multipla, I want the Top Gear Renault Scenic with the Formula One rear wing. Just
Yeah.
for
No,
worst
that was
races.
Renault Aventine.
That's the one.
Yeah,
because
V6 and everything.
Renault did the Scenic with the F1 engine in it, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like a turd gold colour.
Yeah.
Matt, what
Big side
what are you
parts and
bringing to
everything.
this awful race then? Bam's in it. Bryn's in his
Multipla.
Fiat Multipla. I'm in my Renault. What are you bringing to this worst race ever?
Oh, if you're deliberately picking something that looks ugly but you're making it fast, I don't know.
Yeah, otherwise we're just going to
Matt.
be there in the worst cars ever. Oh, Matt's brought an actual rally car. Well, fuck this.
He would. That's the thing, that Matt would bring an actual rally car because he wants to beat us all, and there'd be me in a fucking Robin Reliant with stabilisers at the front.
There we go.
To be fair,
What was that, Bryn?
What's powering your Robin Reliant? Because you're going to lose otherwise.
Fucking
What-
bike engine. Fucking bike engine
Yeah.
all day.
what I'd do is I'd bring Mazda in like the 60s or 70s, made a little K-van. And if you go to any event that Mazda UK are at...
K-vans are cool. You can't have a K-van in the awful race.
Let-
I'm sorry.
If we're having the awful race, I'm going to bring the one that Mazda UK take to all their publicity stunts that has a coffee machine in the back of it.
But
A race with a coffee machine.
but that's not an awful car. That's a cool car.
That's cool.
Yeah,
K-cars are cool.
so back to an awful car, Matt. Come on. Bryn's taken
Right,
the worst looking car in history.
I mean, I could take a modern Fiat 500.
You could argue, right? You could argue they're not a horrific car because they are the dream of every Starbucks
There you
drinking
go.
teenage white girl.
I've just put ugly cars into Google. I'll bring a PT Cruiser.
Yeah!
There we go.
My dad, when I was a kid, genuinely wanted a PT Cruiser, and like 10-year-old me, the two cars that he was thinking about getting were a Subaru Legacy or a PT Cruiser, and 10-year-old me was like, PT Cruisers are cool, Dad, you should get a PT Cruiser.
Aged well.
No, it didn't.
Also, this is supposed to be dream cars, and we didn't really go down.
We've gone on right. So we've gone on a tangent. All right, we've opened up with some truly horrific stuff that at some point we've now got to build when this channel makes money. So please remember, everybody, like, subscribe, hit every single channel on there, buy some merch, mainly so we can see Bryn do a stupid Fiat Multipla.
Yeah, I mean, of all the ones we've just talked about, that's the cheap one. So if we start out with a Fiat Multipla and just angle grind it all away, that's a cheap project, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to one up my PT Cruiser and get a convertible PT Cruiser.
What was that?
Or see,
PT Prowler or something?
The Prowler's kind of cool.
I can't believe
All four-seater convertibles look like shit.
Except for the Mark 1.
They're too long.
Is there a Mark 1? The Mark 1 Golf convertible looks alright.
it's not really a four-seater though.
Hey, I mean, you
It's
could
2.2.
fit Milton in the back.
I'm not that small. Bryn is smaller
I mean-
than me.
It's like saying the RX-7 FD is a 4-seater. It's a 2+2, and Nicole, who's 5'2", doesn't fit in the back of an FD.
Okay, so then actual.
Right. So I think I'm gonna start the list at affordable dream car. Right.
That's all of them for me. I don't have any expensive dream cars.
All right. So I started my little dream car list, like I said in the last episode, as a young kid, knowing that the MX-5 handles well, and I've already got it. And I still stand by last week's statement that if you've never had one, buy one tomorrow. Right? And then the next thing on the affordable list was the Stagia, and I've got that. So, affordability-wise, MX-5 was bottom of the list, really good handling. Stagia was on there just because, well, original plan was Volvo 240 Estate
Yes.
with an RB, right? And then I discovered Stagias existed and saved myself a shitload of labour.
If it ever rusts away, still do it. Take the
At
engine
least
and
I've got
drivetrain out.
four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
That'll fit. I've got. It's literally just a reshell, right? At that point.
Yeah, exactly.
The
I think-
Volvo is a Volvo, so it will be invincible.
So I can drive it into people.
Yeah.
Volvos don't get rusty. Rusty get Volvoed.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
So what happens when your
I-
rust goes beyond a certain point? It just becomes a Volvo.
That's
So,
definitely science. You said we were going to do science segments, Bam.
That's proper science, mate. We'll do the odd science bit, right? Because actually, what we know is some of the fans like it when you talk engineering and I shout science at a microphone. so we're going to keep that.
getting back on topic.
Yeah, back to topic. So, after the Stagia, 1971 Porsche 911. I just think it's the best looking year. It's a beautiful old thing, and I would make owners clubs cry with it. If I'm honest,
You've got a habit of doing that. Owners clubs don't like you
that's because I buy the rare shit and work on it.
and
Pretty much.
enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's because I have fun, and they don't like seeing people have fun.
See, my dream, sort of realistic, short-term dream car was the FC, which I've now bought. I've had an MX-5.
Yep.
I'll probably have another MX-5 at some point.
Until then, you've got Nicole's MX-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I haven't thought much beyond that, if I'm being honest. Most of what I really want to own goes down to I want to own an RB. I want to own something with a 2J in it. But I don't really care what is around that engine at this point. So obviously I wanted a rotary, but I'll prefer the FC. RB, some sort of Skyline of some description, whether it's got 2 or 4 doors, I don't really care. And then a
Why
2J.
Why not? Why not a Stagia? Because it's
See,
like a
the
4-door
Stage-
Skyline with a giant boot.
Stagia is one of those options, but it depends what comes up.
That's
I
fair.
mean, I haven't really thought much past that other than maybe dream daily cars, but that's boring.
That is boring.
Yeah.
One of them's electric and one of them's a hybrid, so
That's
I mean, there is a whole episode about the future of cars with electric and hydrogen that we're not going to touch today because might do that in a couple
we'll
of
go down a
weeks.
rabbit hole.
Yeah,
We'll be there for a while.
we will be, and there'll be a lot of science and engineering.
Yeah.
Bryn, please get a whiteboard.
Yeah,
I've got a
he's
whiteboard.
got one behind him. There's also
Yeah.
one in my office just there, so
I've got
there
one
will
there too.
clearly be whiteboard sessions going on.
I can also get my notes on hydrogen fuel cells, which are upstairs somewhere.
Wow.
Um,
Bryn, what's your dream car then? Reasonable priced or
yeah.
Well,
achievable?
they're all cheap, but I always kind of had like there are various sort of tiers of car that I wanted to own, and there were always 2 cars in that tier. So once I've kind of done it, I know I will never own the other one. So like I always wanted an original Mini. Then I ended up getting the MX-5, and I'm now not going to get an original Mini because they're basically the same thing. then the next thing, I always wanted an S body. That's just not going to happen now because they're just so much money for something that ultimately you could put into a wall. But if I was ever going to buy one, I think I would buy a rolling shell and just start from scratch, do it as a proper project build.
I'm gonna throw a controversial statement to you three out there, but you don't have to drift everything you buy.
Yeah, but then what would I do with it?
Bring it out to a drag strip and play.
Boring.
See, if I get to the point where I've got a shit ton of money, I'm going to build a car that does every single discipline on its own. So I'm going to have a drift car, I'm going to have a drag car, I'm going to have a track car, and I don't have to drift everything then.
That's fair. So I want an Evo 8, and it's stay in rally spec. So
why not?
So I can be a country lane idiot on a racetrack. Obviously, yeah.
For me, it was dream car was it's a bit stereotypical now. An S13 hatch in black and tastefully modified. A bit looked like what Turk had with the JZ back in the day.
That
gorgeous S body.
Just clean, not overbuilt, and now I've got the MX-5. I'm like, well, I don't need that. It does everything that car can do, and more.
Mm.
Yeah,
and it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper, but just not ignoring the price. It's just it does everything just as well.
That's the thing. Like going from the MX-5 and then having the Stager. Like the Stager is not a cheap thing. A, it's a Nissan, so it rusts. And B, right. So firstly, about the rust. Why Nissan? Just if someone works for Nissan and watches this video, please answer the question. Why did you put a bit of foam on the inside of the wing mirror where water can get to it so that it rots the top of the door? Really important question. Right. Everybody wants to know why you did it. Next thing is, like, I've got to buy parts that aren't in this country.
It all comes down to it's not just drift tax, but it's also as a universal as Jap tax.
Yeah.
If it's Japanese and JDM as fuck, it gets add another zero on the end of the price tag every time. I'm gonna
dare to say that's untrue. So the Spike is the king of no JDM tax. So I bought unfortunately, after I keep saying the word Spike on consistent episodes, I bought a Mugen
influencer tax.
Yeah, I bought a Mugen front grille and Mugen spoiler from Japan, landed in the country for less than 50 quid each. So it's not there. It's not there on everything.
That's because it's too obscure. If it's that obscure and nobody knows what it is, it's probably not desirable, so there's no tax on it yet.
But you've also got the thing of
but
it's not rear-wheel drive.
We can make it desirable, and then I can sell it for more money.
I think the tax really applies to rear-wheel drive and Japanese.
Yeah.
But also the sort of
performance.
Call them cult classics like the GTRs and the RX-7s and stuff like that. The obscure stuff like the Spike just sort of vanishes into the background and nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's another one though, an RX-7 as a dream car that I don't think I would ever own, because there was a point with the S body where I really FDRX-7, like that's the dream, Series 8 FDRX-7, I'm gonna have one day. And now they're at the point where I look at them and go like, I couldn't own one of those because of how much they cost and how much they're worth. I just could not justify it. So that's another car now that's like the first one for me was the Supra, Mark IV Supra, obviously everyone was Supra, Fast and Furious. But like I saw one when I went to, when I did my GCSEs, instead of GCSEs, I did an engineering diploma with Toyota. And they had,
you did.
Yeah. They had one in the paint shop, a half of a Toyota Supra body in this like metallic blue color. And literally from the first second I saw that, I was like, that is the best looking car ever. And now whenever I think of Supra, it's that color. But I'd never own one because you can't now. You can't.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation with Supras that you are with the FDs. I didn't really like Supras until the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and like I looked at one and all of a sudden I was like, yes, and then it's the FD. It's done the same thing as the FDs. It's just skyrocketed to like 20, 30 grand.
This is
I
so.
was
This is
sat
the
in
thing.
it.
This is the thing I'm looking forward to. Right when the Stagia hits 25 years old, and the Yanks can buy it, and they realise it's got an RB.
Yeah.
That's boring.
Send a message to Adam LZ.
Yeah, having cars that are worth stuff is boring.
No, I agree, Bryn. And
Yeah,
like
but
the
he
Stagia,
drives them though.
I drive them, and you know I commit to driving them properly. But that Stagia, when that Stagia hits 25, I've scratched that particular dream car itch. It's great fun. Don't get me wrong, but if I can flog it for 5, 6, 7, 8 more grand than I spent on it, and I've had my fun with it, I'll drop something else into its slot in the fleet. Like it's one of those cars that I've had. It was a dream car because I wanted to do something stupid, and then I found out I didn't have to do the hard work, so I went that way. But
I think it depends.
But
what
if
you
now
want
my stupid dream is another one of those cars that, like you say, Bryn, that's just getting astronomical pricing. Datsun 240Z with a 20B.
Would be cool.
Yeah.
They sound. Someone's done it. Someone's done it in Japan. It sounds like hell is opening up. It's fucking amazing.
On the subject of 240s, though, shout out to that car that me and Matt, I think, saw at the first Jap Fest that I went to. And the guys in the UK blew one and just saw, like, doing a little bit of, gently around Donington, whatever. Got to the straight and it was just eating Evos. I was like, right, I don't know what that is, but we need to go find it. Found it in the pits. It's like fairly standard, clean, not standard, but you know what I mean? Like clean. Nice,
lightly modified.
240, yeah. Kind of look through the bonnet vents. Oh, there's a weird cam cover, like maybe that's an RB or a JZ or something. Walk round to the back and there's just a fat ass fucking tank of NOS on the parcel shelf. This guy right here.
Like we stood there watching it from the grandstand, and it comes down. It passes Evo, Subarus, GTRs straight down the straight, and it just looks nonchalant, just sat there. It's like, what? Well, there is a picture somewhere that from the official Japfest photos, and it pops up on my memories. I think every year on Facebook. I'll see if I can find it. We can insert it in at some point.
We will drop it in a random episode, and it'll just say under it that 240.
Yeah,
that 240.
That guy, wherever you are,
yeah,
absolute animal. Loved it.
But that's the kind of thing I love,
dream, isn't it? That's one of the dream cars. Is something like that. That's a classic, really tastefully done, but is an absolute animal under the bonnet. Is the best thing you can.
Yeah. It's like it's the greatest feeling about owning a Stagia is that point where you're on the outside lane of a legal racetrack and there's a BMW right up your arse end. So you
mean
drop
on the
down,
Autobahn, yeah, in Germany?
You drop down two gears on the Autobahn, that's it. Yeah, because they wouldn't confiscate that Stagia if it went on an Autobahn. You drop down 2 gears, fire comes out the exhaust, and it disappears from them. And they catch up with you later on, and there's just this look on a BMW driver's face going... whilst you're sobbing into your wallet, realising how much money that's just cost you in fuel.
Yeah, just watching the fuel gauge go down as you accelerate.
Literally, as the revs go up, the fuel gauge does this.
That's what I'm dreading on the RX-7 when it's running. Rotary turbo.
Matt, I can fix that.
Because,
do you know what you do? Do you know how to fix it?
Don't say it.
Say it.
Don't fit a fuel gauge.
Yeah, you can play
That's
that game.
That's not what I was expecting you to say.
You can play that game that we played in the Hijet, of the fuel gauge doesn't work, so we'll just gas and carry around a 20-litre jerry can just in case.
Well, I mean, Nick that came with us to pod quite a few times, so he had an RX-8, so not a turbo rotary. And his day went, okay, drive to pod, get fuel, do some drifting, lunchtime, get fuel, do some drifting, get fuel, go home.
Get fuel.
Then the next day to go to work, get fuel.
Yeah.
And then I've got a turbo on top of that and a full bridge.
Yep.
I am not expecting my miles per gallon to be double figures.
There is another way around this problem, though, Matt. I'm just throwing it
Trailer.
out there as a sensible thing.
Don't
Mate.
finish building it, and then it'll never use any fuel.
No, make sure that your fuel lines are capable of taking ethanol, and run it on moonshine.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because that's going to help when you have to chuck twice as much of that through. Oh guys, I've done 3 laps, but I was on ethanol, so
fuel.
I'm out of fuel.
Yeah, but if he makes his own moonshine, then I can get drunk on it, and he can fuel his car with it.
That's what you need. Forget the Mazda 6. What we need to get you is a Stagia pickup and get one of those Shell fuel Bowsers and just stick that in the back of the thing, bolt the fucker down, and that's your tow vehicle then.
Yeah, that'll work.
We're all gonna
'Cause
need.
they-
We're all gonna need one of them after 2030 anyway, Bryn.
Because the 300 horsepower Stagia will need some of that fuel as well after towing another car to Santa
Yeah, you
Fe.
could just plug it directly into the filler.
Yeah.
And every time it starts to go down, it'll just drag some of it with it.
Yeah.
Permanent vacuum.
So back to dream cars, right?
We got an
Affordable
upper level now,
cars.
so
Milton.
reasonable. There is
Yeah.
one that did come up, and it was from the Fast and Furious, and it was Brian's Eclipse. Because you
Okay.
don't see him in the UK,
Mm.
and it just looked cool.
They are.
I liked it.
Yeah.
They're kind
I
of.
was-
I can see what you mean.
Especially the GSX one with 2-litre turbo, 4-wheel drive.
Mm.
It's one of those cars in the Fast and Furious franchise that sort of blended in.
Which brings me to a really interesting. Given we've already asked one car manufacturer a question, anyone who works for Mitsubishi, where did the fucking interesting cars go?
Yeah.
But you could ask that to every manufacturer because Mazda stopped making the Mazda Speed.
Yeah, but
They made the Mazda Speed
Mazda
6.
still makes like the R. We've already discussed this. The MX-5 in the Mark IV is still an MX-5.
So
Therefore, they still make something moderately interesting.
So
Toyota
aside
have just
from the
dropped
MX-5
the Yaris Gazoo. Yeah, so that's
Toyota dropped the all-wheel drive Yaris.
yeah
The GR, whatever it is.
Gazoo racing one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Honda still do Type R's just about,
They're still there.
and they've re-released
they're
the
gonna
NSX,
get.
and they've done a new NSX.
No,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Toyota have done the suit.
Nissan
Toyota have done the
still
suit.
make the GTR, although they have made it the world's most boring thing I've ever driven.
They have announced the 400Z as well.
There we go.
That's cool.
Sorry, if you're in America, 400Z.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Subaru,
Mm.
nothing.
Subaru just
Beyonce.
makes.
Subaru and
The Beyonce.
Mitsubishi have just gone, here's a crossover. And that's really, really depressing, if you think about it. Because,
They have made a new Impreza, haven't they?
They still make Imprezas,
I-
but they don't do like STIs or WRXs.
yeah, I've not gone to... I may do the odd random tour of car dealerships just to see what's new and about. And I don't think I've seen a new Impreza for maybe a million years.
But then at the same time, you've got weird people like Kia doing the fucking Stinger. That's like
That's cool. I would buy one of those.
Completely out of left field, cool as shit.
And speaking
That's
of
400
that,
horsepower,
then,
isn't it?
Yeah.
and then you've got like the Alfa Romeo Giulia, whatever. They all sound the same, but the saloon that's a V6. Is it
Yes.
rear wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
No.
600 horsepower.
Right,
That's
now...
Where did they drop that from? At one point, they only made 2 different models of cars,
We're getting... No, but
and
now
then they
we're getting...
dropped that.
Now we're getting into the Italian stuff, right? So, Italian dream car. Ferrari, don't care which one. I'm just going to go and collect myself a cease and desist letter for doing stupid shit to it. Because I want it on that wall right next to that T-shirt.
I'm going to help you with that as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure everybody is in for, especially if I lay my hands on something properly classic like a Testarossa. So I just want to make a Ferrari that'll make Enzo turn in his grave and fetch my cease and desist letter and then get rid of it because I'll be bored of it.
Yeah, you've got your piece of paper to go on the wall, and that's all you wanted.
And then I'll buy a proper car, like a Lambo, but go full mental Japanese neons everywhere. And a Lambo will go, yeah, that's cool. Do what you want.
Yeah, see, this is what I like. Lambo support people doing that. Like, Mad Mike built his Huracan drift car, and he bought it directly from the dealer after having a conversation with the CEO of Lamborghini at the Goodwill Festival of Speed. Yeah. And he went, yeah, let's do it.
But that's the attitude of the company that basically is founded on an entire fuck you to Enzo.
Yeah, and that's probably why they went and said, yeah, that's fine.
Also,
but that's why all the guys...
Interestingly, Lambo, the only Volkswagen Audi group car that I'd ever own.
Yeah.
And one of those cool Audis with like 1,000 horsepower, but doesn't look like it's got 1,000. Pretty cool.
Speaking of fast Audis, anybody been watching Unicorn versus the World?
Yeah.
I skipped through until the last 10 minutes, last few minutes of each episode.
So far, the only thing that's ever been close to the Unicorn is an Audi A3.
But
on all-wheel drive, full slick. Yeah, it's fully built to be a drag car, but
1,100 horsepower.
But still carrying all of its interior.
I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bring myself to buy... In fact, I'd be worried about, and Bryn will understand this statement, because he's got a piss rat too.
I love it.
Yeah,
that was
but if I bought a
Lambo,
Lambo, I would be worried about the front wings.
Yeah, well, just take the foam out and then you'd be grand.
See... I don't think I'd ever buy an Audi or a BMW purely because the parts are ludicrously expensive to replace.
Okay.
Which is sad.
Depends on what year of BMW.
But like the RS6 and stuff, like a slightly older.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous car.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'd love an RS4 Avant, but I just worry about the cost of replacing. Like, I've seen second-hand rear-view mirrors for BMW, I think E46 is the one with the auto fade. Yeah. 300 quid.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm just going to return every single drifter that's on this with me right now to a statement about straight-piped BMWs that was made.
Yeah, they're completely AIDS. Don't straight-pipe them. Jesus Christ. No.
Straight-pipe any car.
Yeah. But
we shouldn't have that particular conversation when we've been talking about my Stagia for a while.
Yeah, well,
but you've got silencers in it.
And a turbo. Turbos make a big difference. You can straight pipe They take all the rasp out and they take a bit of volume out. But BMW E30 touring with the straight six on ITBs, that's another dream car. That would... I
bet you'd have an estate as well, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, you've got to have an estate.
That is the touring,
Wagons
isn't it?
are cool. Wagons are so cool.
Yeah.
If they make it in an estate, with some exceptions, because there are a couple of estates where you look at the saloon car and you go, oh, yeah, imagine that with like a boot. And oh, yeah. And then you see what they actually did for the estate. And you're like, what the fuck is this?
So this is something I've noticed with modern estates is they're trying too hard to make them look like coupes. So my old Mazda 6 went across and it was like a Volvo and it went curved a little bit and then went straight down.
Yeah.
Whereas my Gen 3 Mazda 6 is more curved and I can get less in the back because of it.
But this is why you go. This is why you go with like,
Volvo.
and I'm biased, a ridiculous Japanese sports estate, right?
But
Partly because, right, Bryn, how many other estates do you know other than my Stagia where you can stand up on the back seat through the second sunroof?
Yeah, but there just aren't that many cool Japanese estates that are useful. Because what the Japanese didn't do was diesels. They really didn't get on board with diesels. So if you try
This
and
is how-
find a cool Japanese estate that's economical and you can tow with, like, I don't know, a Passat or a Volvo V40, Volvo D5, V50,
So-
another Dream Daily. They just didn't do them.
Yes, but do you know
This-
why that
this
is?
is-
But do you know why that is, Bryn? Because if you're going to buy something Japanese to tow with, you just buy a diesel Hilux. Done.
See,
Not-
this is how I ended up with a Mazda 6 in the first place. Because I mean, I had a really small budget at the time, but I put into like Auto Trader or eBay or whatever. Japanese estate diesel. That was my 3 criteria. I wanted something Japanese, and it had to be a diesel estate. Legnum came up. Not really a fan of the look of them. Mitsubishi.
Absolutely love them.
They've grown on me since Connor's had his.
Shit diesel, apparently.
Yeah. And the Mazda 6. And that was it. That was my 2 choices. And I like Mazdas, and now I have a 2014 version of it.
Bryn,
But
on that,
this-
I used to have a Volvo S60 D5.
Amazing, aren't they? And that is, if the Passat breaks, and I don't buy another dream car that I'm going to talk about in a bit, the Volvo V50 D5 would be the next. Like, that's going to be
Mate.
forever daily. Because the Passat, I won't sell the Passat unless it actually shits itself. And then the next thing I replace it with, I won't sell it unless it actually shits itself. Because I don't sell cars unless they are fucked.
Yeah, but make sure you buy the estate and not the saloon, because you'll
Yeah,
fit about
no.
3 sandwiches in the boot.
No, I'm definitely
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you open the boot and it just goes like that, and then you've got
Yeah.
the boot goes all the way to here, but the hatch ends here. So you
Yeah, but all this talk of estate cars brings me all the way back round to the Alfa Romeo that I would 100% buy as a dream car if they made an estate.
Which is
which one?
The saloon, Julia, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd want it in the Quadrifoglio, whatever the thing. It's Italian, and they just call it whatever they like.
Quadrupedo.
That
So-
one.
all right.
But it's
so,
all-wheel drive, 600 horsepower, and if it was an estate as well, that's what I'd have.
So,
It's-
Bryn, Italian. Anything Italian on the list?
Well, back maybe, I don't know, like 5-10 years ago, there were a few that sort of floated my boat. Ferrari 430 is one of the best looking cars that Ferrari ever did. Like, there is, if you put a 430 in front of me and go, tell me something you don't like, I don't think I could do it. You can look at that car from every angle and it's spot on. And then they brought out the 458 and that was nearly as perfect. And then you get round to the back and there's the weird ass bug eye lights and the triple. That was horrible.
I like that.
But then they brought out that competition version with the proper exhausts, not the 3 middle ones. That was nice. But other than them two, no, don't really like Italian stuff. Brera, beautiful car, but wouldn't own it. Wouldn't own it.
Milton,
I'm
what
the
about
same.
you?
I don't really know Italian cars. Like, it's only from racing games, and they end up being crap. And I'd rather be in a 19 shitbox racing them anyway. So
I think that goes for all of us, though. We would all rather build something than just straight out buy a supercar.
yeah, I would rather spend 50 grand on a 90s car than 50 grand on a Lambo, or if you can even buy one for that.
We've talked about Audis and BMWs and Italian. We've talked about like our cheap cars. So everybody at some point in their life needs to have a luxury car. And I think Bryn's nodding away and has something for everybody.
I have a plan, right? I have a plan because for the longest time, I really, really wanted a chaser, okay? Because the opposite to an MX-5 is big body, 4 doors, weighs a ton, but also has loads of power. And I really, really want a car like that. And the chaser is up there. However, the chaser is up there. And so you can't own one now because they're silly money. But the other one that I always loved is a Lexus GS300. Is absolute. Another car that I can look at it from any angle and I cannot find a flaw with it.
Is that the JD one?
Yeah, VIP perfection, right? I was going to Nottingham last year on the motorway, and I saw these brake lights, and I was like, oh, they look amazing. Like that's some kind of Merc or something. I got closer and closer. I was like, oh my god, it's a GS300. And then since then, it's just been like, yeah, okay. So
See,
I wanted one before,
Yeah.
but that is a plan.
I'm gonna join you here, Brent. I'm gonna
Yeah.
agree, and I'm only gonna say slightly different words to the words you have used by saying Toyota Aristo.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
because the Aristo is the turbo version that you can't get because there's so much money. But GS300s suffer from an ABS failure, which basically renders the brakes entirely inoperable. It's not a serviceable part. So if it breaks, you have to try and get another one off another car, which will probably break, or a brand new one, which is like $2,000. So once the ABS goes, they're worthless. What I'm thinking is you get one that's had the ABS failure for basically no money, rip the ABS out, put a new master in it, just go for manual brakes. You've then got a 2J in it, naturally aspirated, but it's the same block. The only real difference is the oil jets for the pistons, which I could get done at work, or Martin Cowley can do the blocks.
Mhm.
You then have a 1J head on it, because 1Js are still quite cheap, or you do a manifold for that naturally aspirated head. BMW gearbox if you want to make it a manual, and then you have the big power manual straight six, which is the greatest noise that God ever gifted the world. Big estate, like nice, big body car would be the dream. And if I had a big driveway or a garage, I would already have one, because that is the next project. I really, really want one, guys.
No,
If the Passat shits itself within the next like couple of months, I'm just gonna go fuck it. I'm buying a GS.
I am entirely on board with Bryn. Like,
Yeah, I
big
agree.
luxury roller. I can't think if I was gonna get a big, maybe a classic Bentley or a classic Rolls.
Cool.
If
Yeah.
we're going on that one, there's one that it's Jeremy Clarkson. It is a Jag. I don't know which one it was. And it's the one that your granddad always had,
Yeah.
and it had a huge V6 in it as well. And it's
That's
They
the.
did a V12
Is
as well.
was it
But you
V8,
Or are
V6 or
you on
V8?
about? Are you on about the one that Clarkson says looks like this?
Sorry, Bryn, do that one more time. I
Is that the one you mean?
think so.
Because they're really cheap. I had a friend who bought one, and we took it to the Nürburgring and back, and it was really nice because it was so luxury.
So that old classic British luxury before they all got bought up.
With really
See, you-
soft, wallowy suspension.
Yeah, but you
You
change
say that,
that.
you say that I really like the XFRs. They do them in a state as well, and they come with the dirty V8, and they can come supercharged. It's like I
Yeah,
really
but-
like them, but
But you would
Nichols-
like the XFR, Matt, because you're a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. They
but
look good in an estate, though. They really do.
yeah, but after Nicole's worked for JLR, not anymore.
I think.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, I think the real thing about and Milton, you got a point. The old suspension is wallowy, but you change it, and
No,
let's
you
face
update
it. If you're out on the autobahn, we'll use that again. That's a solid play. If you're out on the autobahn and an old Bentley comes at you full attack, right?
full 6 3/4 liter engine.
Yeah, full chat up your backside, and it's straight piped. I know that'll offend Bryn, but straight piped, tiny little bonnet vented pipes, right? You're just getting out the way, right? It's just
I want
noisy
the old
as hell.
suspension. You could just sit there, you waft along, just
Just on a cloud.
Because that's the thing, like, you say, straight pipe Bentley or whatever, but with a big car like that that's powerful, I'm often more impressed when they are silent and you see one of those Bentleys and it starts to overtake you and whoever's in their way gets out of the way. And then it makes no more noise, and it doesn't really squat or anything, but it
I
just
Just
fucked off.
disappears.
to go, and then it just keeps going, and you're like, that's like a cloud just fucked off. That's cool.
Oh,
so Lexus is
The king on that one.
Didn't hear that. Please try that again.
Go that again.
speaking of it,
going from Lexus to another Lexus, but we're going to get in the realms of you've got £1 million. You can buy one car. What are you spending the money on? The holy grail for me, the car to end all cars, the Lexus LFA.
I get that. I understand why you want it, but personally, I wouldn't buy one.
Do you know why I would buy one? So there was one for sale at Stoke Lexus maybe 8 months, 9 months, no, 12 months ago, because lockdown wasn't a thing. So about 12 months ago, there was one for sale at Lexus Stoke, and I went and saw it in the flesh. Right, so
Hey,
so as Matt says, I understand what you're saying, Matt, and it's one of those ones that's not in everybody's list, but it's there for me. I went and, don't meet your heroes. Don't go and see it. Don't try and buy it, even though you've not got the money. I got that far into it. I started trying to negotiate on the thing when I saw it. And I got them down by £50,000. I was quite proud of myself. But it was still 500 grand. But it's just like, it's not as big as you expect it is, right? So you go and you see a Lambo or you see a Ferrari, and actually they're quite big. When you stood next to them, they're a big old girl. The LFA stood around it, kind of felt not much bigger than a Supra. Okay? So, and then you just look at it, and the only thing that gave it away, that it wasn't a brand new car, is the key. That you have to turn in the ignition.
yeah.
You have to turn in the doors to open it. Right?
Millennials are having fits over manual labour.
Yeah, but luckily, technically, I am an elder millennial, born in '86. That's scary.
Yeah.
As the oldest one on the call as well. That's just, yeah. But just beautiful, beautiful things. And I know you guys said this last episode about white cars, but in pearl white as well.
Yeah. I think when you get to that level, white is acceptable because it's kind of. But
Yeah.
that
They don't make you pay more for that colour at that level.
Yeah.
That Lexus though, actually, because I was struggling to think when you said £1 million, like what would you buy? Because genuinely, there's pretty much nothing that interests me at that point. But that Lexus was. It was an engineering marvel, and I do love those cars. I love when a car company like that goes, right, we want to do, this is the best we can do. Yeah, those are really good. And actually, that's what made me think of the one that I would buy. Another one of those gods of engineering, this guy, Koenigsegg. I would have a Koenigsegg because they were, Bugatti have made a 1,000 horsepower car that weighs 2 tons and it's really complicated. All right, well, ours is faster and it's actually light and just, it's another one of those cars where they went to town, and when everyone was doing the flippy hydraulic wings, they were like, oh, we've just made one
Active aero.
fiber that bends when you go fast. And stuff like that. There's clever ways of, like, Christian von Koenigsegg and his company, for that reason, I think would get my £1 million, because you'd have one and I'd just know this thing is just an absolute fucking pinnacle.
Yeah, I think we're at the point. I think we're at the point now at this sort of money where all 4 of our choices are going to be completely different. Because at this point, I want to buy a McLaren, and for the same reason Bryn likes the Koenigsegg is the sheer amount of engineering that goes into it, and I just love that sort of thing. Probably a P1, if I'm being honest. Because I just love the amount of engineering that they put into it, and I think a Senna's more than £1 million as well.
Are they? Jesus.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
I think
I plucked £1 million out of the air as a number that I could probably afford an LFA in 10 years' time, right?
I mean, if you go in above the £1 million budget, I mean, they do a full race car version of the P1, and somebody has converted it into a road car. Like this, I think it's a P1 GT3 or something like that, and somebody has put all the relevant bits and got a number plate for it and everything. And I think I'd be happy with any McLaren. At that point, I think I just love the way that McLaren do things.
Milton, where are you on this?
This is hot because Bryn said he struggled. I'm literally sat there while all three of you going around it. I think, shit, what do I choose? But there was two that kept coming to mind was a Porsche GT3, GT2 RS, just simple but mental track car, but you're allowed on the road. And then the other one would be an Aston Martin of some kind.
Yeah.
James Bond.
Yeah, or James May, the yellow one, with no aircon, and he's driving
proper race car. Yeah.
But bringing it down a little bit, thinking about that, right? You know, we talked earlier about the Aristo and the GS, Brad, right?
Yeah.
Another bonkers four-door that we all let slip from our brains, Maserati Quattroporte.
One of the best looking four doors, but
I like the way that Top Gear described it when they did the the Panamera, the Quattroporte, and the Aston Rapide. The Maserati is like a 2-year-old child. You hate it all of the time, but if somebody tried to take it away from you, you'd punch them.
Yeah.
And as the only parent, I can justify that.
Yeah.
Like they would say that the way that it's built, and there's so many complicated buttons on there, and they've just crammed more and more technology in as it's gotten older and older. But they still have it, and I get why you bring it up.
It's just one of those things.
Aston is a good one, Milton, because I remember being, probably before I could drive, looking at the V8 Vantage, not the old one, which is still nice, but the newer one.
Yeah.
I remember, again, thinking of that, like, this is perfect. I love it from absolutely every angle. And I remember looking them up and going, they're only 80 grand. Oh, that's quite affordable. I'll be able to get one of those ones.
80 grand? Is that all? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think now they're even less. And they're a beautiful car, and they're not huge.
There's some cars that you look at, right? And I'm grabbing my phone to do this now, right? I can go on eBay, other sites to buy cars from, dirt cheap, sight unseen, that kind of thing. But if I type in,
but you do think about the Aston Martin, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago now for us, because we're getting old now. That, if you think of an Aston Martin, that was a supercar. That was the luxury, the car you'd want to get taken to prom in kind of deal.
And that's still outdated now. Like the Vantage and stuff. It's clearly not a new car, but it's not ancient.
They're not. Yeah, they're not old in terms of tech, are they? Because they had so much tech in the first place.
Some stuff looks really dated really quite quickly, and some stuff you look at it and go, oh yeah, that's maybe 10 years. Oh my god, they brought it out 30 years ago. What?
So
like
the cheapest, the cheapest, and I'm saying this because it's us, and we're all mechanically capable, right? So damaged, salvage, repairable, DB7 V12. How much do you think?
30.
5,000.
How much, Bryn?
5,000.
Bit more than that, a bit less than Milton.
I think you're talking 10, 15, aren't you?
Yeah, 15, 16, 750. Cheapest Aston on eBay right now.
Same you would pay for a Chaser.
Wow.
And
so
less
would you rather have an S15 that's mildly built or an Aston Martin?
That is also about $7,500 less than you pay for a Mint FD at this point as well.
So going back here, right? This one, Bryn, I think is gonna maybe change your concept of what your next car might be. I'm going to throw... bear with me. Bentley. Turbo R. Like classic Bentley shape. We can all accept that. How much do you think?
20.
$4,000.
Less than 5.
8,900. Just like... That is...
Still less than a Chaser.
Yeah.
80,000 mile, 6.7 litre motor. I'm fucking in. Someone cut me a check for $8,500 now. I want that car. I want to have fun in it. I want to ruin someone's day on a racetrack in it.
So while we're talking about these sort of luxury cars, does anybody remember seeing the Rolls-Royce Ghost or Phantom? I think it might have been a Phantom. The guy in Japan bought it new and drove it up to about 200,000 miles where the engine let go. And it was cheaper to put a 2J in it. So he did that. And it's now a 800 horsepower turbo 2JZ.
Because Japan.
In fairness,
Rolls-Royce don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, the cheapest one of them on the internet is $50,000. So,
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Milton, on a similar but completely opposite note in a lot of ways, the S15, right, is actually a dream car that I wouldn't own because I recently got the chance to actually go in one, sit in one, and everything. And in my head, the S15 was always that, if you think about S bodies, well, what's the best S body? S15, like that is luxury, that is creme de la creme. Actually, kind of shit, quite cheap interior, quite dated looking, quite tacky, not well built. And it surprised me because I thought the S15 would be like the 350Z is. When you get in a 350Z, they're actually a really nice place to be.
yeah.
Whereas we kind of have this S15 up on a pedestal because it's the ultimate drift car, but actually it's still the Silvia, which was kind of a base model sort of.
Is this another pedestal made of popsicle sticks here, Brent?
I guess it is, but it's one of those cars that I thought was a lot fancier than it actually is. They look good. They look really good, but they're not.
I am gonna. And this is where we're getting to the don't meet your heroes, right? So, love Skylines. Love everything about them. GTR comes out, look at it. That looks brilliant. Got the chance to drive one. Took it out on track. And by God, is that glorious, glorious piece of programming that ruined all my fun.
Yeah.
It just does everything for you. If you can't drive... If your name is Doris and you're 90 and you want to go fast, go and buy one.
We're talking R35 here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just got. It is. I'm gonna dare to say it. I think it's the most soulless car I've ever driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing from the instructors at the place that me and Matt used to work at. I would say like the GTR is the fastest thing we had. And it takes absolutely no talent to beat everything, but it's so boring. And if you wanted something fun, you drive one of the Ferraris because they actually don't drive that well.
When I took it out, I also got to drive an Evo 8, and there was this old bloke going around the track in a Ferrari, who just looked pissed off with the world, like every time I passed him in an Evo 8, right? And it was just such a fun thing to drive. It's why I want one. It's why it's on the list. It's why I'm pissed off that Mitsubishi don't make anything fun anymore. And like, it's got soul. The MX-5, it's got soul. The LFA, if someone wants to lend me an LFA for like a weekend to test, that'd be brilliant. I'm just gonna throw it out there. You don't get if you don't ask, boys. So let's throw it out to the internet, right? And I can, when you look at it, you're like, it's going to have soul. It's going to have soul. That was designed to have soul. And I know it's got soul because whatever you say about Lexus, they're just Toyota in a pretty frock, right?
Toyotas have got soul.
No, but that's my point. So I know the LFA is going to have soul because it's a Toyota in a pretty frock. Yeah?
Yeah.
If it's had time to put a frock on, it's going to have some soul.
Yeah.
I mean, they did design that frock twice.
Yeah.
They fully designed. They made the whole thing out of aluminium. Went, maybe we should make this out of carbon fiber. Threw it all away and started again.
This aluminium is soulless. It must be lighter.
Yeah. Right. So
The signal.
what we've basically concluded is we all like different dream cars. We're still on. If you've never owned an MX-5, buy one tomorrow, because that's a really good place to start your dream car list. Yeah. We'll see you all next week.
If you have a GS 300 and you don't want it anymore, but there's nothing wrong with it, please sell it to Bryn.
That's it. Yeah.
I will buy
Yeah.
more than Bryn will spend just because I can, and then I'll sell it to Bryn for cheaper than I paid you for it.
Because he's a nice guy.
I can take that.
Wait, what? That didn't work, did it?
No,
You
did
didn't
not
do the
work,
maths
mate.
on that.
On that note of poor car investment from Milton, I think we're going to end this week. We'll catch you all next week. We've got coming up in the future. We've got 3 special guests already lined up to
Think so, yeah.
come on
Yeah.
random
Yeah.
episodes. We're not going to tell you when they're coming. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, keep watching. Tell us what you want to see us talk about next in the
Put it
comments.
in the comments what we want to talk about.
And thanks for watching episode 3. I've been Bam. He's been Matt. He's been Bryn.
I'm always Bryn.
And he's been Milton.
I'm not Bryn, I'm Milton. And cut.